Hey guys, how you doing? Hope you're well. Put the light on at the back there. Okay, right. Well, busy one in the studio again last night. A lot of people asking me how to do ambient music, so I've closely done exactly what people have asked me. I mean, it all goes down to, on a keyboard, sustain. I think we've got a sustain on here. So that works like a piano. And on the keyboard upstairs, I had a thing called a randomizer. You put things in like that, and it goes. But with a sustain on, it sort of slows everything down. Like so, that's basically. Do it on here. Need to pin it off. Beautiful, isn't it? And that's ambience. What you can do is run on the left and all. That gives me the full range. And on the keyboard upstairs, there's a thing called portamento, and that's a slidey effect. Now, if we've got one on here. Got a lot of attack at the moment. Really, you would need a bit more. You need to pull that attack out. I think you probably need to pull the variations on. Too far. We've got the right one on there, get the strings in. And then a little bit of sustain on there with a bit of touch control. So basically, your touch control is, if you hit the keyboard a little hard, then it'll get a loud sound. If you hit it gentle, it will sort of bring the touch. That's what the touch button does there. Here I've got the touch button on here. Yeah, internal touch. So basically, that's you can do. You can bring it in full, or you can just blend it in nicely. And then you can just blend that one in and all. It just matches lovely, like, you know. And what you can do here, you can bring up octaves, so you can stay here, or you can go a little bit higher to bring a nice, more mellower sound. And then come down here on these, so you've got your strings which are on the lows, and these strings are high, so you've got a full range of strings. And that's ambience. That's how you get ambience, guys. Yeah, it's very relaxing, very enjoyable, especially these keyboards because they were tuned in for a 432, so that's just a bit off the 440, which is that harsh, horrible sound that people get learned. And you just come off a little bit to a mellow sound, a nice mellow. And by having the sustain on with the DPF, which basically you can control the parameters with a mono on and on, which is pretty cool. And just by using, I wouldn't say the chords, any sort of keys, as long as these three are together, it will blend nicely and rotate gently. And if you have a little bit of reverb on, a little bit of modulation on, I've got the modulation wheel about halfway here, so you can hear that little bit of a vibration thing. You bring it down to nothing, or I'll bring it up even higher, but I think the middle bit is about right for that one. And if you want to do Vangelis stub, all you do is just use your pitch control. Bring back the modulation, and then bring the pitch down again, right to the bottom. Bring the modulation all the way up, and that gives the vibration just at the last second. That's basically what Hans Zimmer usually does. He just keeps on to that sort of standard. You'll see quite a few of his films that will get that up here. You get to the full chords, and then you'll bring it back down and bring in the Gothic voice. So it gives a tremolo effect and all on that one. And you've also got the strings that's layering on top of that one and all, on the dual. So now you've got a full instrument and the orchestra is down the bottom, 2 layers on the synthesizer at the top. We can actually now bring in a third voice on top of this one. Nice growly organ. The old Hammond. And there's another instrument I can bring in an oar, which is on the right one, which is more strings, so I can add more strings too. So we've got a string, we've got a concert manual, we've actually put a piano on top of that and all. Now the piano won't come through unless I hit the key a little bit harder. And you can hear the whirling sound and all that's just on there by the modulation which is on right low at the moment. But if I bring that to the middle, that will blend it out a bit. And hear the piano coming in. And that's by the modulation wheel. I brought it up to the middle. If I take that to the top now, that will cancel out the piano, but it'll bring in the strings. You can just hear that bit in a sort of raining sort of day in a part of the film, like. Just brings them strings in. So you can control by the modulation by having the 4 buttons here, by layering 4 keys on top of one sound, and also having the harmonics on, the aftertouch, which gives that nice gentle feel, the sustain on because that brings the notes longer. I've also got the I've put it down to modern. I've also put the DPS on, and also variations of that, and I can still control it from the modulation wheel. Bring that to the middle. You can just tell now that the strings have gone back out, but now the piano's come back in. Brings the organ in and also layers up on the strings. Come back down on the modulation wheel, back down, and believe it or not, it gets a little louder and more very pitchy like. So I think the middle bit is the ideal place for this one. It slows everything down and it gives a good sort of blend into each key, like you can blend from one key to the other. All fits the films ideal, you see. This is why the films are quite good, and the way that Hans Zimmer does that sort of thing keeps the same sort of style, the same sound, same beat. Well, it's not really a beat actually, it's the same sort of mellow sound. It fits any sort of film really, which is good on the sort of quiet side of times. Like. nice, gently rotating sounds, very, very gentle sounds. And that's the sort of things that make the films. All the stuff like, I won't say Vangelis, it's Vangelis has got a certain modern sort of stuff, but it's more for Hans Zimmer, this sort of things, because it's more the sort of he sort of plays like. He uses a lot of chords and blends the chords back through the other side. Well, he used to. It's more computerised. He does nowadays. I don't do it that way. I just do it manually. But I got one thing that's different to him, to me, is I play in a 432 frequency, which is a little bit on the lower side to the standard in your face sort of 440, and that's what makes these keyboards sound warmer and smoother, and it is actually the beating heart frequency of the earth, so it's all tuned in perfectly. And the synthesizers here are basically, well, I put it into synthesizer mode, and I've got a Gothic Vox. I've got the left channel all matching the right. I've also got the dual on, so we've got two voices on there. I've also memorised it, and not memorised, harmonised it. So if I go here, it blends back in. Touch control, it's not jumping straight at me. It is now, but if I go on here, then I can slowly, gently. That basically, the lightness you do it brings it in. And also, what a lot of people don't do on ambient music is put sustain on, because you want that sort of big effect like you're in a hall and that. And the DPF, that's pretty good. That's a few other effects that you can play with. So it just blends in nicely. If that were 440, the standard of what they teach, it wouldn't sound that good. It would be sort of repetitious, like. But this just, the ears love it, and nearly 100,000 fans love it and all. That all matches beautiful. Touching gently and all, and you can hear that come straight up and then go back down again. So I've got a very gentle modulation wheel turning at the moment for the organ. So the organ settings on the modulation, and that blends in with the strings. And if I change the modulation wheel down here, I can have a little bit more of the organ and turn the strings back down. Bring it back to the middle again. That cancels out the organ and brings the strings back in again. Take it up to the top, that brings in a little bit different. Really slows everything down and blends it back in gently. So your piano now has come out, and the strings are at the bottom now. Bring that one back in again. You can just hear that one coming back in. It just fades in nicely. Just hear that vibrating again now, just coming gently in and out. And that's the rotation speaker on the organ that's pulling that one through. But we can bring that one off and go back onto strings by just putting the modulation wheel in the middle. Cancel out the piano, brings the organ lower, and then brings the strings higher. That's the sort of same things as Hans Zimmer does. And then bringing your Vox in and also strings on top with the keyboard here, that brings a nice matching sound. I'm lucky really because I've got 1 in 10,000 perfect pitch, so I can pitch that to that without even looking like some days. just matches perfectly, these two. Just nice, just gentle fade in and fade out, like, you know. Hey Kevin, how you doing? All right. We keep jumping in and out. We do. Is this mine? What's that? Mirrored? Yeah. Problem with the camera. I'm left-handed. Well, I'm actually right-handed, but the bloody stupid Facebook won't let me change the camera around. The Zimmer is fantastic, and he's a great bloke. He really knows how to do stuff. But it's just, I was looking at quite a few of him, the videos of him in the studio, and how he actually brings the different sounds in. And I thought, I'm sure I've got one of them modulation wheels on the keyboard. So I did a bit of experiment, and it just brought it in nicely. I must admit, since I've tuned this back down to 432, it really's got that no bite now. It's sort of a mellow sound. Even if you give it a bit of bite, it just still mellows back out again. I can bring the modulation right to the top. So now the piano comes back in, and it brings the strings in, but it takes away the other one. Bring it to halfway, and you've got the piano's gone now. And the strings are coming back over the top of the organ. He doesn't actually use a lot of chords. Must admit, it's probably about 2 or 3 at the most. But it's the way you blend them in to them chords, like. And there is another technique you can actually do by 2 fingers on the main finger. I sort of get used to doing about 4 or 5 though, and this middle finger here, which don't usually do a lot of things, it usually ends up playing some bits and bobs. That's a bit different to what he does, but it just works for me, like. So I'm doing the full chords here and some more chords here. So I've got a little finger here that's doing nothing. That's basically what he uses, just that one, whatever that is. I can't read music anyway. Might use that one now and again. I've heard him do that one. Beautiful, isn't it? It's just fantastic. Strings, keyboards, organ together perfectly, and for the effects, like I've got a gothic voice there, but I'm also running it on top of a full sustain and dual control to actually give that a full blend. You could do a full blend here and all, like if you really wanted. Fantastic. I love it. Also, I think if I just change the rhythm on here, let's go right down the bottom. That's a 5, isn't it? So let's see what we can do on a 5. It might do something, it might not, I don't know. It'll be slow, put it that way. But it should give me some effects. Let me just bring that into the rhythm. I might be able to do it with the help, you see. Give a little bit of a portamento on that one, I must admit. Just give it a little bit more. To about 10. Very slow, and it really doesn't match modern beats. I'd go up to 20 probably. Ah. Brought it back. If I change that, let's just have a bit of a different set on here. Let's go back onto the other one. So what have we got here? Nothing coming through on that because it's too slow, but really? Probably go to the next one. No, not really that one. Let's get that one. What it wants is a crescendo. That's what it wants. It's a sort of call it crescendo. It's like basically a looping sound, a gentle looping sound. Probably. Let's see, that one. If we go back into that one, pull that one back out. What's that one? A bit too slow. She's not. Nah, that's pants. It's not really working on that, is it? So what I'll do is I'll take that one off, put it back on again. That should put me back onto that one. Okay, what we'll do is we will press that button. Yeah, I didn't really want that one. Let me just try and see if I can get back into that one. Come back down here then if it's going to be. I'd say a nice loop would be nice. Come back here. Let's see what we've got here. That's an arpeggio, or whatever you call it. The harp. Sometimes it works on those, sometimes it don't. That's how you put it together. Hey, what we got there? Yeah, Anzin, brilliant. What was that one? Do you think 432 is? Yeah, it does heal you. I mean, I've been playing it all my life, and I've never really been to hospital, actually, to tell you the truth, with anything wrong. So there must be something in it, like, you know, I've been playing 432 for a long, long time, since I was 9 years old. All the keyboards and everything I've had was always tuned at 432, because my dad was the same. He tuned he always played in 432, and my granddad did. And my dad basically was in the RAF as a flight, the pilot, not the pilot, the next one, the flight, the flight engineer is the one at the back, that's it, doing all the controls with all the buttons and everything. And he could play better than the RAF person in in the RAF. And it sort of passed down to me, I suppose, really. He did the same, never had a lesson in his life, couldn't read the music. Mum was different. She was grade 6 on piano, so she learnt the things. So what I've got, I suppose, in my growing up, I'd learned a bit of music, which I couldn't stand because it did me head in. My mum taught me, and then of course Dad said, "No, you do it like this." And Grandad was the same. He could play the piano, like, you know. So it's all been in the family. But we've all been taught to learn the 432, and it's trouble. It's a bit of controversy over it, but really they teach you 440 in school, but it shouldn't be, because that was in the 60s. Early in the 50s, coming to the 60s, all the bells were tuned to 432, believe it or not, because it gave a nice mellowing sound and everything. But it's something to do with the Rothschilds changed everything round or something or other, and it's always been a conspiracy or something. And then they reckon that in the 50s Hitler had got that frequency to 440 because it was downgrading and that. Because if you go to concerts, you can probably see that they'll do a 45-minute session and bugger off somewhere and then come back later because they're knackered. I can play 4 hours. I could play 3 hours, 4 hours, no problem. And also some of the old people like Cliff Richard, some of the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, all that, they play in the 432 frequency, and that's where they can play longer. You go to a Cliff Richard concert, I think he goes on for 3 hours or something like that. Someone says it like that. Elton John, he's a 432 person. The old school are 432, and I learnt that in the 70s and all that. So basically, that's where all the best music comes from. In the 80s, they changed a few things around, and obviously, they've gone back to the old numbers and all, and it got worse and worse. Then when they sampled it, because it's 440, it's such a droning sound. It's horrible sound. But 432 is a mellowing sound, and actually, it is the balance of the Earth. It is the Earth's frequency, what it should be. So everything's all balanced. But Rothschild took all the bells out in 1960 because they want to control the people, right? So, you know, it's a controlling thing. But if you play in 432, which I've told a lot of my friends and musicians and all that, you'll find out you will have a lot more fans, and a lot more people are following that. And it is because I've got over 100,000 people every time I go on this thing, like, you know, without all the other sort of, there's 75,500, I think, on, what is it, Instagram, and then Twitter, there's another 750, 75,000, like. It's not real massive numbers, but it is the numbers that's good enough to do, you know, get the word out. And I actually advertise it. I play in 432, which I have done all the time. Like, at one stage, we're doing care homes. I did over 100. I only started with one, then it got to 4, then 4 more people listened to it, and then it got to. It just spread. You know, I've never advertised in my life, and I don't believe in paying for advertisement. So it's just a gift I've got, and I love it. And I think I've got 43 albums. So if you want to have a listen to all the stuff I do, check out BANDCAMP. There's loads of links on my profile, and I don't really have to advertise that at all. I've had loads of agencies after me, but I don't really believe in them, so I don't go on those. So it's yeah, because I don't want to work for someone else. I'd rather have 100% royalties. I do all the stuff myself, like I register it down at PRS myself. It's tricky, the music business, but you don't really want an agent telling you what to do and showing you where to go and everything, because they're the ones that you don't really want to be in. If ambient music is brilliant for 432, because first of all, you've got the frequency anyway. So it doesn't matter what you play, it'll be easy for the ears. And yeah, look into 432. It's a lot of people rabble on about it's legal, and that it's not. It's just basically they're the people that was taught it in the 60s, and now they've got a real good job in science. Oh, I've got a science degree in music and that. Yes, mate, but you've played it. Back in the 60s when you learnt it, it was taught wrong, you know. If you'd have gone back a few more years, you'd probably get the right frequency, but it was sort of hush like, because it was something to do with Hitler. Hitler actually made the frequency because he wanted a droning sound which was down, a depressing sound, and that's why, like, you go to a concert, these modern musicians, they'll bugger off within 45 minutes. You get an older type one, Elton John and that, he'll go on for hours because they can. There's no draining effect on 432, and it's easy to play. And especially with me, because I've got 1 in 10,000 perfect pitch, that is even the bonus, like, you know, so. And that's just by listening to the music, like I picked up the Hans Zimmer one. And it would just sound nice and mellow. So yeah, I suppose, I mean, I'm coming up to 64, believe it or not, but I don't look it. So I've been told. So yeah, I do believe there is a frequency there that is it repairs DNA, and that's probably why I'm happy, healthy, and all that sort of thing for 64, or coming up to 64. 18th of February. And of course, there's music finders on this thing, so of course, whatever you play on your music finder, it'll still sound good because it's in that frequency that the ears like. Let's see what we got. George Ross fits nice. You can't, it doesn't matter what you play, and even if you play the wrong chords or anything, they fit because you're on the right frequency. That's the secret. I've tried to tell loads of musicians. And another thing is that what a lot of musicians don't do, that I can, I've got a 65-inch screen there and watching telly while I'm playing. That's how 432 makes it so easy to play. Doesn't matter what you play, if you're playing modern stuff, I go into some of my favourites. Let's have a look. Like Oxygen here. Oxygen. Apparently this is quite hard to play, but you can get the track. There you go. bit of Vangelis. There you go, put through combinations for you together. Yeah, but that's the secret of music. If you want to be a musician, get 4-3-2. Don't do 4-4-0. You'll be forever more bloody or trying to learn that one. And that's what makes it hard for people to learn music. It's a challenge, and if you do it right, yeah, you do it right. It's brilliant, but you've got to stay in that thing. You can't change back into 4-4-0, 4-3-2. And that's why I get dismissed so many times, because they've learned it and they don't want to go through it again. But really, if you don't learn it and you go 4-3-2, you don't need to do it. If I want to learn a music, I'll just hum it in my head and play it. I mean, most of the time I used to hum it in my head and play it, but now I basically just sit back and watch my hands do it. They seem to just take over now. I know roughly what I'm going to play, so I just hit the old button there and see what we got for a beat. Pick something. Many times people could see me on Sunday Churchill where I've got 1,850 tunes. No, not tunes, basically styles. So you still have to do all the work. There's no auto this, auto that, and everything else. It's all manual. And it's the way I just basically pick things up, really. I don't know. And we've got simple there. Nice techno one there. Don't need no sequences. And there you go. So hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining me, guys. Finish off with one more, obviously. I don't know. I usually do it on the same track, don't I? So I'll go back to the Believe on there. Okay, thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it, and check out all of the links. They all go to different places. We've got merchandise, we've got all sorts of things on there. See, we've got a star system. I don't quite know how that works, but apparently it's like a tipping. And I'll see you again. And we've got 2 more albums I'm working on at the moment. Hopefully they should be out by the end of the week, all on BANDCAMP, so that'll be 40 albums. Not bad for 3 years. Check it out, guys. Okay. Back to the music then.